Have you ever found yourself stuck in an endless loop of what ifs and second guessing every decision? Well, if that's the case, you're not alone. Overthinking is something that nearly everyone experiences, and it can be mentally exhausting. But here's the thing, there are real research backed reasons why we overthink, and more importantly, there are ways to stop overthinking. In today's video, I'm breaking down why we overthink, what really goes on in our brains, and how to finally break from the overthinking cycle. Before we get started, a quick reminder to 92% of you who haven't yet subscribed to my channel to do so now and click on the notification bell icon so that you don't miss any videos from me. And now that we have you subscribed, let's dive right in. The first and the foremost reason why we overthink is because our brain is wired for survival and not for happiness. Back in the day, our ancestors had to be always on a high alert of actual dangers like predators or food shortages. Today, the same danger scanner in our brain is still active, but instead of lions, it's overanalyzing the awkward text that you sent. This happens because our brain's worry center, which is also called amygdala, creates worst case scenarios to try and protect us. So an example of this can be that you hesitate to send an email because your brain is spinning through every possible negative reaction from the recipient. And what it does is, while this constant alert mode is natural, it keeps you stuck in the overthinking loop. The second reason is illusion of control. Now, overthinking tricks us in believing that we are gaining control by thinking about a situation multiple times. We tell ourselves that if we analyze every single detail, we can prevent mistakes, bad outcomes, or embarrassment. But here is the thing, overthinking does not equal control. In fact, it usually does the opposite. It leads to indecision, it leads to stress, and it leads to wasted time. One of the examples of this scenario can be that when you have to make a decision to accept a job offer, you spend days making pros and cons lists, researching every possible outcome, and you end up missing the deadline to accept that job offer. The solution is to understand and accept that there'll be some amount of uncertainty in every decision that you make, and that uncertainty is normal. Instead of asking what if, try asking what's the worst that's possible if I move forward with this decision, and try to build solutions around that. The next reason why you might possibly overthink is because perfectionists are expert overthinkers. We overanalyze every decision, every project, every action, convinced that if we just think through every possible scenario, every possible flaw, we can avoid failure. The reality is that perfectionism actually creates more stress and makes it harder for us to get started. Example of this situation could be that you have been wanting to launch your own business, but you're waiting for that perfect plan, that perfect time to start taking action and make it a reality. The reality is that there's no perfect time to get started. Perfection is an illusion, and progress is better than perfection. Another reason why you might be overthinking is because of the pressure of social media. Social media puts so much pressure on each one of us. There's a constant state of comparison. The reality is that on social media, we only see the highlight reels of other people's lives, the dream vacations, the perfect relationships, the career wins. And naturally, this leads us to believe that our life is not perfect. So we start doubting ourselves. We overanalyze every single choice that we make. A great example of this is when you want to post something on Instagram or on social media, and you keep looking for that perfect picture and a perfect title because you're overthinking how others might react if you don't put a perfect picture or a perfect title on that post. This is actually a part of a psychological phenomenon that's called the spotlight effect, where we think that people are paying more attention to us than they actually are. The reality is everybody is so busy dealing with their own shit that they don't care about yours. The solution to this is to unplug regularly and remind yourself that social media life isn't real. What you see is only the highlight of other people's life and not the reality of their lives. Another very genuine reason why you might overthink is because of your experience with trauma. Your brain might be wired to expect danger because of your previous trauma, and this can make every small decision overwhelming because your brain is in the state of hypervigilance. It's constantly scanning for threats. It's constantly looking for situations that might put you in danger. An example of this could be that if you have been in a past toxic relationship, you would overanalyze, overthink every single text that would come from your current partner because your brain is in a hypervigilance mode and is always scanning for any kind of hidden messages or red flags. Now, what is important in this scenario is to understand that your brain is trying to protect you, but sometimes it misfires. Therapy, mindfulness, and self-compassion can help rewire these thought patterns in your brain. One of the common reasons why people overthink is because they want to avoid conflict. We analyze every single word, we analyze every single action, trying to predict and prevent any disagreements. Example is when we replay conversations in our head 100 times, worrying if you said something wrong, even though the other person has moved on from that conversation a while back. This happens to me often, but I have learned to allow myself 5 mistakes in a day. And when you do that, what you do is you take away that stress from yourself. You get away from that pattern of overthinking. You speak up, you clean the air, and you move forward. And then big life changes, new jobs, new relationships, breakups, moving cities can shake up your sense of self. And that's why you can get into the trap of overthinking. When our identities feel uncertain, we overthink as a way to gain control. Example is when you start a new job and then you suddenly start second guessing yourself. Am I qualified enough? Am I skilled enough to be in this job role? And that's called imposter syndrome. The key is to recognize that identity shifts are normal and reminding yourself that growth always comes with discomfort, and there is a reason why you are here. People saw value in you, and that's why it's important that you move forward rather than overthinking and getting in those moments of self-doubt. So now that we understand why overthinking happens, let's talk about how do we stop these. First is to use Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. I really love this rule. If you catch yourself overthinking, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and take action before your brain actually talks you out of it. The second one is to challenge your what if thoughts. Instead of spiraling into worst case scenarios, ask yourself, what is the best that could happen if I make this decision now? The next one is to set a decision timeline. Give yourself a time limit. Example, I will decide by 3 p.m. today how I'm going to move forward with this task. By doing so, what you do is you give your brain enough time to worry, but you also give it time by which you have to make a decision. So now your brain needs to stop worrying by that time and move forward. The next is to reframe mistakes as growth. Every decision, whether it's good or bad, is a learning opportunity. And when you shift your definition of successes and failures, you will realize that your mindset shift happens and you're able to make decisions because now you're not looking at failures as something bad. You're looking at them as learning opportunities. So your brain is now not in the mode where it perceives it as danger. And the last one is to practice mindfulness. Overthinking thrives in a cluttered mind. Meditation, journaling, and even deep breathing can really help you focus your brain so that you can feel more grounded, your thoughts are more composed, and you can move forward. I know overthinking is exhausting, but it's a habit that you can break. The more you train your brain to take action instead of over-analyzing, the easier it becomes. Now, which of these overthinking traps do you struggle with the most? Drop in a comment, let me know. I would love to hear from you. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you never miss a video from me. See you in the next one. Have a successful week. Bye-bye.